Thanks for having me here. I'm very happy to be here. I graduated from Stuyvesant in 1985, and I'm a sociologist. I'm writing a book with Margaret Chin, who graduated in 1980, and we met a couple of years ago, and we did the typical New York thing, where you go to school, where you go to school, and Stuyvesant, great. And then we decided we should do something about it, because as sociologists, we're kind of geeks, and we want to study stuff. So studying Stuyvesant seemed like the thing to do, and this was well before all of this stuff exploded and happened. And what we were interested in was a school like Stuyvesant or Bronx Science or Brooklyn Tech or the other five specialized high schools. They're different. They're different from other schools, and they have a special place in the imagination of people in New York City. Only 6% of seats, I believe that's correct, of high school seats are in the specialized high schools, and yet parents all over the city are yanking their hair out about the school. Why? So for the last year or so, we've been doing interviews with Stuyvesant High School graduates of all years, going back to 1946 up through 2013, and we're interested in adults, and we're looking at the long term. So grades, we don't really care about grades. We're completely disinterested in grades. What we want to know is, what did going to a specialized high school do for the student? And what we found, what we've been finding in our interviews with people, is that the schools are transformative. I'm going to get to the test in a minute. But the schools are themselves are transformative. They're mobility machines. So Stuyvesant has a very long history of taking care of especially immigrant students. So through the 50s, 60s, and the early 70s, it was very much Jewish children of immigrants and boys. And so 71, around that, and all boys, and then afterwards, girls were admitted to Stuyvesant. It was earlier for Brooklyn Tech and Bronx Science. And in the early 70s, you began to have a relatively large Black and Latino population. So through the 70s, it was the 10 to 15% range. At Stuyvesant, at Bronx Science, it was close to 25%. At Brooklyn Tech, until the late 80s, it was close to 2/3 Black and Latino. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, across all three schools, it dropped, the number of percentages of Black and Latino students dropped dramatically. So what Stuyvesant is a mobility machine. Kids come in, and they come in poor, they come in working class, they come in lower middle class, and they turn out middle class, upper upper class, across the board. The graduation rate is almost close to 100%, the college going rate is close to 100%, and they're going to elite colleges, right? So kids come in poor, and they come out bankers, making more money than their parents could ever dream of. So this is the promise of the specialized schools, and it makes sense that there's a lot of tension over this exam, right? In a way that was not there 30-some years ago, because it was a lot more accessible, I guess is a word to use. So one thing that we found was that as students come into Stuyvesant, what happens is that there's a peer effect, and this is the title of our book, is the peer effect. You come in, and Stuyvesant, Tech, Science, all these schools, they're essentially a cauldron. And you come in, and there's a culture already existing at the school. And whatever your attitude to school is, you come in, and the attitude of the culture is, we are achievement oriented, and you got to get with the program. And students come in, whatever their attitude is coming in, they learn very quickly to conform to this norm of behavior, or they're not going to last very long. And most of them conform. So going to Stuyvesant, no matter what for instance, like this test-only thing, there's so many kids who got in who were not particularly good students. Heidi is raising her hand also. We were not particularly good in junior high. In high school, I was not particularly good. I was in the bottom half of my class in high school. But the thing about these schools is that the culture of achievement is not just about grades. It's about you are going to go on to do other things. You're going to college. It's not a question of if you will go to college. Nobody has that question at these schools, no matter how poor they are, no matter where in the city they come from. You come in and you learn. You will go to college. You are going to become a professional. You are going to do well, and that's it. That's the bottom line. Now about the test. The thing that's come up in our research is a kind of even more basic question is, what is this test for, right? So Jonathan and Fred brought up the idea of, is this test to predict, freshman year grades, these other things. The test, as far as I know, I've not seen any statements in, throughout the history of the test of what it's for, other than to sort. It's a sorting mechanism, and that's it. It brings kids, it says, you can be in, and you're not in. And you're gonna, if you don't get in, you're underprivileged, you could go into the Discovery program. And side note, we found in our research of the people who we interviewed who went through the Discovery program, as Jonathan found with the grades, no difference, right? They come in and they do very well, right? I mean, grade-wise, some are 4, some are 95, but they all end up graduating college and becoming
And can we just make clear, since the Discovery program got named twice, I just want to make sure everyone really understands the Discovery program in the context of this discussion. And I don't know, Josh, maybe just ask you to take a minute just to locate it in the context of the testing.
Sure. The Discovery program was created under the same piece of legislation that put the specialized high school exam enshrined it in state law. And it is a program for the word in the legislation is disadvantaged children who scored just below the cutoff for the specialized high school exam. And the idea is that they can participate in a summer program, and if they succeed in that summer program, they are offered admission to specialized high school. And in fairly recent years, in the sort of 90s and early 2000s, that program actually diminished, and it was a policy choice to allow it to do so. And in the last few years, we have revived it again. What we propose to do as part of our program here is expand it to 20% of every specialized high school. And that's just what we're doing that's what we're doing while we're debating the fate of the test long term. This is something we can do immediately, and it's under the city's control. So we're expanding that to 20% over 2 years, and we're refining our definition of disadvantaged so that we are selecting students who are themselves low income and also attending high poverty schools. And that will have the effect, again, of finding students all over the city that can succeed in the specialized high schools and will immediately affect diversity. Not as much as we would if we got rid of the test, but some immediate progress. And that is now a subject of legal action, which one of our panelists alluded to. And so the fate of that is unclear, but we're working on it. That was a long explanation, but that's the
But I just wanted to make sure everyone knew, since we're banning about programs that not everyone necessarily knows. Sorry, Dr. Ali.
So there's a bunch of things that get wrapped up in discussion over the exam. And one thing that is really clear is that there are way, way more qualified kids who do well in these schools than can be admitted, right? And it's kind of like Harvard, right? As many people as Harvard admits, they reject an entire class of school valedictorians and people with perfect SAT scores. And the specialized high schools is the same. So a lot of kids who are not going to get in. And so then the discussion around the exam, there's a very ideological discussion of who deserves to get it, right? So, a big kind of reaction to the mayor's proposal of the top 7% and to expansion of Discovery is, well, it's going to exclude kids that are deserving. Well, what deserving means is, it varies among people. But we know that whoever gets in does well, right? They just do well. Whoever you're going to let in is doing well. So if you go test only, which like a lot of criticism of the test only, we're the only place to do it. It could be that we're right and they're wrong. I mean, we're in New York City and San Francisco and Chicago, what do they know, right? They're inferior places. So maybe we have a better approach with the test only. If we admit people on multiple criteria, they'll probably do really well. Also, if we admit people based on the top 3% or 5% or 7% of middle schools across the city, they'll probably do well also, right? I doubt it's going to make that much of a difference. The third issue is, why are people so upset about possible changes? So you have two main constituencies. One is parents of kids and one is alumni. And alumni, it's a strange bird because you graduated. Go away. But the reason why I feel, and this is kind of our interpretation, right? The reputation of school is in part our reputation too. For parents of prospective students, they have a big stake because the reputation of Stuyvesant, again, is a mobility machine. Going to Stuyvesant is a near, or tech or science, is a near guarantee, of upward mobility. And people put a lot of time and effort into prepping their kids, into doing weekend summer programs, and they feel they want to be rewarded. Is that right? Is it wrong? I'm not judging. I'm just putting it out there that these are reasons why people are so upset. One of the things me and Margaret wrote an article in the Atlantic over the summer, and we ended by a kind of critique of the city. Why are we focusing on these 8 schools? I mean, we're excluding LaGuardia, these 8 schools on the test that represent 6% of seats, when about a third of all high school seats are screened programs, right? Instead of going after things that have to be changed, and also change the 5 other specialized schools that are not in the test. So,